Just open mine eyes that I may see. Lead me, oh Lord, won't you lead me?
Last Saturday, as you may recall, was a beautiful sunny day. Indeed, we had a little mini heat wave, didn't we? Saturday, Sunday and Monday, I believe. Well, Saturday was a lovely day, and I was wending my way to go and catch the train in Wolverhampton. And being a sunny day, I thought, right, I'll pop on some summer attire. I popped on a cream jacket, not a formal one, a zip-up one. Put my cream stuff on. And so I'm wending my way towards the Wolverhampton station. I've just come under the bridge. It brings you to Broad Street, if you know of Wolverhampton, and I'm heading by the canal. And as I say, it's a lovely day, and I'm humming to myself. Probably a bit of Elvis, as you probably know me. You know. No problem, just humming to myself, as you do, taking no notice. And then I felt and I heard a sound which none of us wish to hear. Some of us may have heard, but I certainly didn't want to hear. And the sound and the thing was splat. Splat. Yes. Some pigeon had determined, with his heat-seeking missile, to find me. And I'm walking along, and you know, just for a split second, you thought, surely not, hold on. And I raised my hand to my head. Sorry. That's how I went, oh, joking, mate. But there's a little message in there, before we move on to the main message of the morning, there's another little message in there. For even the cloud has a silver lining. Every cloud has a silver lining. God is grateful and gracious to us all points. Why? Because not a bit had hit my clothes. Not a bit. I was in the cream and I looked straight up and I thought, I'm dead, I'm bound to be stained. No. It must have hit me like an egg and gone. So there was a blessing as I was muttering to myself, trying to get the number of the bird as he went by. I thought, I'll get him. So I cleaned the top of my head, you know. And I wasn't far from the station. So I cleaned myself up. Nothing on my clothes. I thought, good. And it occurred to me, out of all the space that was available, millions and trillions of inches available around, he found the 1 inch, which was mine. Now, I'm sure you've all said, I'm sure some of you may say to me later, if you're not already thinking it, people are saying, I said it later when I told them, it's good luck, you know. It's good luck. I said, is it? But they do. They say, if you're caught by a bird, it's good luck. Well, it must have been good luck because of the trillions of inches that he could have chose. He chose my little inch just there. I was chosen. I was the chosen one. From all around, the bird had chosen me. Wasn't grateful at the time, but it's true. When you consider the amount of space he had, and he found just the top of my head, I was chosen from many a space. And it brings us to our Old Testament reading this morning. Read for us from 2 Samuel 23, 13, 17 by Yvonne. And we heard that of three mighty men of David who were chosen to go on this task for David. He only said, I just wish for some water from by the gate. These three were up. But we shall come to them in due course. Because let us not forget, these were the three, but they came from a bigger group. They initially came from 400, we are led to believe. But in the first book of Samuel, at chapter 22, we're told that David, at this point, is still on the run, to use a word, from Saul. Saul is still pursuing David. He's out to try and kill him. And David hides himself in the cave in a place called Adullam. He's just moved from Gath, from the Philistines, and placed himself in Adullam. we can sort of assume that at that very point he may be by himself there, because we're told in 1 Samuel that relatives and others came to him. The people who came to him were in distress, were in debt, were probably sinners, were probably wrongdoers, but they gathered, and we're told that 400 of them gathered to assist David, to come to be his little army, to assist him against Saul and Saul's army. These people weren't all holy and righteous. As we say, they were in debt, sinners probably. But this group of people gathered together for David's good, to follow their leader, David. 400 out of potentially 800,000 Israelites at that point. 400 out of 800 Israelites. But these 400 were the many who came to David to follow him. Now, when we compare it with today's world, because I looked up this little statistic just out of interest, you can go on and bamboozle your friends and your family later with this bit of fact. It is estimated that on this earth today, God's earth today, there are 7.7 billion people, with a B, billion, 7.7 billion of us on earth. And out of that, another little fact and statistic you can stun your friends with later, we are told there is 2.4 billion Christians. So out of the 7.5 billion people, there are 2.4 billion Christians. Are they all righteous? Are they all holy? No, they will come from different walks of life, won't they? Different creeds, different cultures, different countries. Around the world there are Christians in all sorts of nations. And they will come with their debts. And they will be sinners. And they may be prisoners. They may indeed be murderers within prisons who still say, I'm a Christian. I hold myself as being a Christian. All walks of life. They come to follow the one, as the 400 did. As the 400 come to follow David, the 2.4 billion of us come to follow Christ and God. The many who are called. But as we know from the Old Testament, and indeed the 3 mighty men, they came from even a smaller group. They came from, as they were called, the mighty men. And it tells us in 2 Samuel that around David there was a smaller group. His inner circle, shall we call them, the mighty men. We're told there are 30. There's a little indiscrepancy about whether 33 or 37, but this morning there's 30. And they are named, and I won't name them all because we could be here a while. But what was their role? These were the mighty men. Out of the 400, there's 30 now. Their role was to protect David more closer than any. To follow him, to be his right-hand men and people there. Undoubtedly, they were better skilled in the soldier, as a warrior maybe. They had their skills that they brought, and they were chosen to surround David. The 30 mighty men. They would have publicly expressed their loyalty to David. My friends, you are the mighty men and women. You are the mighty people. But in Britain, we have nearly 67 million people. We're led to say that about half of the British population is Christian. And out of half of the British population, without boring with facts and statistics, we're told that only 700,000 people go to church. Out of half the nation saying, we are Christian, only 700,000 of you and them come to church on a Sunday. My friends, you are the mighty men, because our group has become smaller now. You are the ones who publicly, each Sunday, in spite of whatever may be going on in your lives, whatever difficulties or good times, you still step up and come to church to publicly declare you are following your one leader. Attending church is that public declaration. Attending church is what the mighty men were doing. They were David's. So many are called, but few are chosen. But even within that, my friends, as the mighty men and people who attend church, there are still tasks put to us. Because they're amongst us. We are still asked to do things as the three did. At this point, let us turn then to our New Testament reading, where the Lord gave an example of a very similar thing. We heard in his parable of the king who had a wedding feast ready. Now, the commentators tell us that weddings in the past are different from our celebrations today, inasmuch as we will send an invite out, won't we? Please attend on such and such a date at such and such a time. In those days, it was the case that if there was a wedding, you'd be invited, a wedding was coming, but you wouldn't know when it was going to take place. Hence, the servants ran out and said, "Oh, we're ready." So many were called. They knew a wedding was coming. But as we heard within the parable, they were called, but didn't answer. One was busy with his business. Another had other things to do. And some others just declined. In today's society, my friends, out of the 67 million that live in the country, half of us are Christian or say we're Christian. But then when Sunday comes and the call goes out, church is ready. Well, just got to mow the lawn this morning. I've got the dinner to cook, you know. And plus, Asda's open, it closes about 12, so, you know. Many are called, but only few are chosen. My friends, you've chosen to come this morning. You have chosen to come. The tasks are placed out there. In the second part of the parable, the Lord says that he opened the doors then to many. And the task was merely to wear the wedding clothes. Again, we are told this was tradition of the past, that wedding clothes would be given for those to wear to attend. And we're told that one comes and doesn't wear the clothes. Even within the mighty people of the church, we are given tasks. We know this by the Lord. The Lord will put a task before you maybe today. He maybe did it last week. He might do it next week. Something whereby you will have to show your Christianity. Will you wear the clothes? Will you wear the wedding feast clothes? David's three, the three mighty who were from out of the 30. So we've gone from the 400 to the 30 down to the three who were tasked with the task for David. Adino, Eleazar, and Shemamah. I do wish the names were a bit easier. Three mighty men. Adino, we are told, fought off 800 Israelites by himself. Shemamah fought a lion in the pit and killed an Egyptian with his own spear. But it's Eleazar who I like the sound of. Eleazar, we are told, when the Philistines came and a lot of the Israelites ran, Eleazar stood firm and fought them off. He fought them off so much that the sword stuck to his hand. Such was his determination to fulfill the task for David and for the 400. He stood there, possibly alone, fighting them off. Now we may say, hold on. Now this just shows that the Old Testament can be a little bit fictional at times. He stood there by himself, fighting them off while the rest of the team went to rack and ruin. He must be jokingly. Let's have a little look to last Sunday, my friends, shall we? I actually watched my second innings of cricket. Believe it or not, Well, it was only the highlights, to be fair with you. But I'd heard that something magnificent was taking place. Lee, switch this on and watch what's going on, I was told. And for those of us who didn't watch, I'm sure we heard the news the next day. And I'm not a cricket fan, but you can't help but acknowledge what's going on. And I turned the TV on. And here we are, England, once again, having to trace down quite a lengthy total. And here we have a team, the England team, stepping out there. All good men. Did the best in the World Cup and probably did the best here. And I'm watching them fall by the wayside. Up comes one and down goes one for one and a duck for another and all falling by the wayside, aren't they? Many were called that day to step up to the mark, but only one was chosen. A gentleman by the name of Ben Stokes, who stood there. I couldn't tell you, I'm sure Rod or Yvonne will be able to tell you how long he was at the crease. But he stood there, alone. 135 runs he got. Banging it here, banging it there, over his shoulder. I couldn't believe where he was hitting it. And I thought, there stands a man like Eleazar. The rest have fell away. Many were called to step up to the mark. And Ben Stokes stands he was the chosen one that day. He stepped up to the mark and hit it. And you couldn't help but admire the man. And you could only imagine that his bat was stuck to his hand like Eleazar's sword. He was there that long. So it can take place, my friends. Many are often called, but sometimes only a few are chosen. And Ben was called, and fair play to the man. He stood there. So when the wedding clothes are given to us, maybe this week, maybe next week, when a task is brought to us, out of the many, 2.4 billion, down to the 700,000 who attend church, down to our little mighty men, a group here this week. When the call comes out this week, and the task, will you wear the clothes? Will we put on the wedding feast clothes and enter when we're called? Or will we just be a little bit too busy? Might we be cooking the dinner or mowing the lawn? Knowing you, my friends, you will be chosen. And you will answer the call, because I know you. And the way you answer the call of God is by your Christian virtues, by love, compassion, gentleness, kindness for your fellow man, which I know you all possess. And therefore you will be chosen, and you will show it as you always do. Just before I finish, I just want to draw something else to our attention. Because although we are chosen, there are others outside the walls of this lovely building this morning who are still to be called, who haven't heard the call of God yet. They may be within our own families. There may be friends, colleagues, who haven't had the call of God yet, who don't feel that they are chosen for whatever reason. But we know that's not right. Because in the parable it said, the king opened the doors then to everybody. Come on in. Good, bad or indifferent. The door was open. The doors were not shut. The invite was there to all. Come on in. And indeed, as I was walking last week back home from Wolverhampton once again, lovely summer day, and as we know, it's the 6-week holidays. And as I walked past, there was obviously a youth group taking place in Heathtown. The collection of the youth had been brought together, young children. And the youth leader was obviously doing a football match. And I'm sure we can all relate to this at school. Teams were being chosen. And as I'm getting closer, the team, I'll have him, say the one team, and I'll have him, and the numbers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you can see the last 3 boys, and there was a girl there actually as well, looking a little disconsolate because we're last to be picked. And they're down, maybe this has happened to you at school, I'm sure I know it happened to me. And you're down to the last 2 and thinking, nobody wants me. And the last boy forlornly trudged off. He was last to be chosen. And I nearly shouted across, but I thought I'd better not. You know what it's like, you can't say anything nowadays. They said, don't worry, you've been chosen. That's the main thing. You've been chosen. And who's to know that lad may have gone on and scored the winning goal in that football match? He was chosen. It didn't matter whether he was first or he was last, he was chosen. My friend, let our friends out there know, if they don't feel they've been called yet. Paul was the last convert of the apostles. But what greater things did Paul do for Christianity? All the disciples, the 12 before him, but Paul was one of the greatest, and he was one of the last to be called. Let your friends know the doors are always open. Whether you're first called or whether you're the last called, you're chosen. As the Lord said, many are called, but few are chosen. My friends, if the bird chose me, and it was good luck, we too are chosen, and it's a blessing on you. God bless you. Amen.